Okay, continuing where we left off. Of course, like I said, it's Nintendo for 2011. This is either part 4 or 5. I'm gonna have to do some sort of editing, or go back and watch my other 4 videos if you don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to look at my own videos myself, so that way I know which part this is. So this is either going to be part 4 or 5 of this discussion video response review, and it's about yeah. I'm a little lost for words right now because I just finished taking them. Now this is going to be another day, another different day again. So, sorry, I'm a little bit tired still too. I still got about, actually, a good 2 hours left before I have to start going to work. Cause I don't know why I took a nap. Why did I even say take a nap? I was falling asleep, so I got a good 6 hours sleep. So it's probably gonna be a different day. I don't know what day this is gonna come out. I know it'll still be in November, but. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. Puppet to her fame. I was going to say a puppet to her heartstrings, but let's keep going where we left off. I think they were talking about books and novels, talking about the movie, not the movie, the book, the author illustrated book, The Road and Child of It. So, yeah, let's continue where we left off. And here we go. Oh, and like I said, all my other parts, before I keep continuing, if you don't want to hear me, you don't want to hear me speak over the audience, speak over the discussion table of this old live stream that was recorded already. I will put the link in the description below if you don't want to hear me talking over the video, so you can understand what's going on. And I'll also put the link in the description down below for the A Puppet to Her Fame, the actual story, fan fiction that was read by Scribbler. And if you don't know who Scribbler is, a very beautiful, amazing girl from the UK, the United Kingdom. Really amazing chick. She is awesome as heck, and a very super professional fan fiction writer, or fan fiction writer as well. So highly suggest you subscribe to her. She's amazing. And all these other wonderful people, or ponies that you see, except these two, these are just ponies, like Lost Narrator, Deadly Reg, subscribe to him. Definitely subscribe to Kumbasa, subscribe to this guy, Braindead. Subscribe to Swenley, I guess. I don't know who he is, or Cider Barrel that well, or Reggie, or Greg. Web Shooter, I don't know too well either. Go sub to him if you want to anyways. So, and I said the Lost Narrator. I know she's not in this conversation. She was in older conversations, but shout out to EmoGak. I did she did collaborations with this chick right here, Lost Narrator, a couple times. So, all those people I mentioned, just subscribe to all of them if you're into fan fictions and stuff, and film fictions, whatever you're into. And yeah, let's really begin.
Just wondering, couldn't Vinyl have just been a good friend, and is that perhaps even taking advantage of Octavia in her delicate state?
Oh, definitely.
Well, because I thought the better friend was probably Lyra.
True.
I agree.
Yeah, it is most definitely Vinyl is pretty much taking advantage of her. The author addresses this by saying, "Oh, we're not having sex, I'm not taking advantage of you," and that's just like, do you not understand emotional abuse and the effects of that? Not having sex doesn't mean you're not taking advantage of someone. The author, in my view, just clearly didn't know what they wanted the story to be.
That's all that matters.
Okay, we'll throw in the romance aspect, we'll throw in everything.
That's all I'm saying.
And yeah, it just doesn't work out.
When you compare Vinyl to some of the minor characters in this story, I thought Vinyl was actually a very throwaway character. It's like the author took Vinyl and paired her with Octavia because that was expected, which is kind of ironic considering what lengths he went to sort of break down fan ideas about Octavia. But comparing
there's a million of them
to,
out
say,
there too.
Lyra and Bonbon,
so many
I had a very
shippings
difficult time
with those
telling
two
them apart
not
at
Lyra
certain
Bonbon, not
points,
just them,
especially
but
during my
with,
first read-through. Like when they're all together
Scratch
in the bar,
Octavia,
all getting
obviously.
drunk. I sat there saying to myself, you could basically swap Vinyl, Lyra, and Bonbon around, and I wouldn't be able to tell who was speaking or who was doing what.
Oh, no, because Bonbon was mildly reproving about the alcohol. That's a distinct characteristic, according to the author, I think.
I almost felt like Vinyl was just kind of shoved in, like the romance aspect of it. I almost felt like the story would have been better if it had not been placed in, and if it had focused more on Octavia and her parents. It felt very disjointed to me.
Yeah.
I'm viewing this romance in the same way I'm viewing the abuse. It's a quick, cheap way of getting an instantaneous emotional connection, particularly with your audience. They are romantically linked. therefore they care about each other. It saves you having to spend any time.
Therefore, the author gets to write a sex scene.
Shipping.
That was pretty much my biggest gripe. Was I
Shipping,
just felt like,
just like I
particularly
said,
the scene
like a
where
minute
it goes
ago,
from
literally.
orchestra practice with Lyra and Octavia, and then it goes straight to the bar. I feel like that scene was just thrown in so we could get Vinyl introduced. I was
she has a
cringing
point
because I'm
there,
like, no,
Miss
this could have been done so
Narrator.
much better if you kind of like slowly integrated Vinyl in, like maybe
Oh, yeah, totally
Vinyl
agree on
and
that.
Bon
The
Bon
pacing
meet up with
was
Lyra,
really
and
bad
she
in this
sees
part.
Octavia. Just it could have
Yeah,
been more
exactly.
subtle. It was just like, oh, here we're at the
I'm gonna
bar.
pause it when
let's
she's
drink.
done
Here's
talking.
Vinyl. Let's get it all going.
I totally agree with this chick right here. Obviously, lost narrator. Bam, right there. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like the pacing and the continuity was very, very fast, unfortunately. But with all due respect, this is the author-illustrators, the writers. This is the writer's novel. It's its own story, so they can pretty much make the character whatever they want. They can make them straight. They can make them gay. They can make them bi. They can make the whole LGBT community. They can make them disabled. They can make them so many other different. They can have so many different characteristic traits. It would take me years to explain how many traits that these ponies and feelings, thoughts, and emotions, and personalities, and own perseverances, and own personal goals and achievements that they have, even their own dreams. The writer can pretty much just. How should I explain it? What word should I say? You pretty much have them embedded in their DNA as a character, animated character. They can have them in their own vision, or they can just have them in a completely opposite of their own vision. I'm not really an author-illustrator. I'm just pretty much saying whatever comes to mind. I'm not really putting too much thought into it. I'm just saying whatever sounds cool, pretty much. Oh, that whatever sounds kick-ass too, by the way. Other than that, no. But with all seriousness, though, I felt like it was way too quick with the pacing and the continuity. That was just kind of the downfall of this fan fiction. The gore and the scariness and the grim darkness was pretty hardcore and dark fic. This is definitely is worthy of a title of dark fic. Let's continue.
I think this fic cannot be accused of subtlety.
It's really rather ironic, considering what was said earlier about how the author wants to clearly distance themselves from canon. And what I get from the romance in particular is the author knows that the audience probably has some investment in the Octavia Vinyl relationship, in being that they're on film fiction, they're reading this story, it's one of the primary sort of fanfic couples, as it were. So they're just exploiting that thing, and it's just another cheap technique to evoke emotion where it's just not really justified by the context of the story.
Lot mentioned about just going to the bar and glancing over that just as an excuse to introduce Vinyl. It got me thinking, what was up with Octavian drinking? Like, is this fic actually trying to be subtle about alcoholism?
I almost feel like that was thrown in just to give Octavia the chance to kind of admit the abuse to Vinyl. Because obviously she wouldn't admit it if she was sober, so let's make her drunk and have her slowly imply it to Vinyl, and then Vinyl will pick up on it, and let's just roll with it. Like, I almost felt like that was used as a plot device. It was poorly written. I did not enjoy the drunk scenes. I thought they were like, they were so trivial. God.
As a teetotaler,
Pretty much
I
random
found
at
those
this
scenes
point.
incredibly boring, and I got the feeling that
I'm so
the
on
author
lost
just
aside
knew some
with that.
stuff about alcohol that he really wanted to say, like how he was cutting with grain at one point. I get the feeling it was just he wanted the info dump. Look how much I know.
What you guys were saying about Vinyl before and how all the characters are so similar, I reckon it would have worked so much better if scrap Bon Bon, scrap Vinyl, have the relationship with Lyra. She's the only one who actually really sees and knows Octavia beyond the bar scenes. It would make so much more sense to just have it just between those two.
And then it would have been if Octavia was acting at all strange, Lyra would have been the best one positioned to see it. Because there was that moment, I have to admit, I felt sorriest for Lyra when she tried to help Octavia, just standing up to her father once. And her father said,
Oh, yeah,
right,
she
I know exactly
definitely
who you
had the
are.
cojones
You're no longer part of this orchestra, and you
to
are
step up
blacklisted
to her
from every other
freaking
orchestra in
verbally,
Camelot.
spiritually,
Goodbye.
mentally abusive father. I give Octavia props for that.
completely
This story
agree.
fan
That
fiction.
did work well. And yet it
Bet
does
your
emphasise
butt I
how
do.
the fic should have been about
Huffs
Octavia
up
and
with your
Lyra.
own
It's
mom.
one of the few times when
Bros,
we are
if you will.
actually... this is, again, one of the problems with fic writing. We are shown what the father could do, rather than being repeatedly told.
Yeah, there weren't that many
things.
appearances
that's
of the
a
father
weakness
except
in
for him
many
being an
fictions that
abusive
we've read, and
bastard
it's an example
to his
here,
daughter.
just in terms of the
Pretty much
father's
degrading
power,
her
we are
to the fullest
constantly told he is
extent
quite powerful, but this is the
pony
first time in the entire fiction we are shown that he's actually capable of causing problems for other people. And if that had happened earlier on, or if it had happened more regularly, I think he would have been a better character for it. Generally,
I can
these
agree with him on that
characters
for Deadly
are
Reg.
terrible.
It's real
yeah, the
great.
characters with Bon Lyra
Great
and
perspectiveness
Octavia
on his side.
are
His
messy.
view.
They are so messy because they keep bleeding into each other, and none of them actually.
Yeah, they really don't
achieve
blend that
anything.
well
There's
either, I
three
can
of
see
them
that.
because there's three of them. You could basically have combined Lyra and Vinyl Scratch into one character and called it Vinyl Scratch.
Indeed, or even called it Lyra.
Or called it Lyra.
Would have worked a
Oh,
lot
that
better.
was definitely
Honestly,
a
I would have
tremendous
been
invention there
delighted
from
if
Mr.
it had
Deadly
been
Reg.
a Octavia
That's this dude
Lyra
right here.
sex
I don't know if he has a
I would have
YouTube
over the
channel.
moon because it would have been
If
something
he does, sub to
different.
him.
I have to admit, until this conversation, that had not even occurred to me, but now, yes, I fully 100% agree. It should have been Octavia Lyra. Is that even a pairing? Has
No,
anyone ever heard
I
of
know
the word?
I believe it is a very rare pairing, but I have seen it done.
I've only ever heard of it in black and white, and then it
I've only
didn't work
seen
out.
one, that's it.
I wanted this fic to be that.
While we're on the subject of these characters, I'd also like to point out how friggin' superfluous Bon Bon was in this entire thing.
Yes. I like Bon Bon. I wanted her in it
There
more.
was
Do
no
something!
reason for Bon Bon to be there. Even as a
Oh,
foil for
man.
Lyra, she was
Scribbler,
very
she's
weak
such an
because,
awesome person.
again, I just found
Sorry,
all
I'm
of
giving
them to
her
be
so
so
much praise in these
interchangeable
videos,
during their
but
interaction.
most of these parts are
Basically,
from
you could have
her.
folded all three characters
This wasn't
into the
her
same
original
character.
channel.
Nothing that they ever discussed between themselves ever really added anything to it. The only interesting point was the contrast of the normality to Octavia's terrible, terrible life, and even then they weren't hugely successful at it.
I think that was why they were there. It's because their conversations were so alien that whatever character the author had ended up going with, she needed some kind of accoutrements of other characters to bounce off, so that
Accoutrements.
Octavia got
I
this
heard that
idea
for
of
the
this
90s,
is
but
what
it was
life could have been like.
accoutrement.
Except Octavia was already
I have no
acting
idea
that
the
way.
definition
She was
of
already
any of that
acting
word
like
is.
she knew what life was supposed to be like outside of her parents when she shouldn't, if that was all she'd ever known.
Yeah, as you say, she shouldn't really be as experienced in social interaction as she comes across here. She should be sort of nervous and not entirely sure what's going on, rather than just jumping in and saying, "Oh, I'm drunk now, everything's fine."
Let me touch base on that little remark that he made. I think that was Deadly Reg or the other two British guys. I forgot what his name was. Anyways, I don't know if it was could have been Rever Brony if it wasn't, what's his name, Deadly Reg or Brain Dead Bird. This guy right here, Brain Dead Crow, Brain Dead Bird. I forgot what his name was, but he keeps doing that. Yeah, the way that he was talking about how Octavia was she ended up being very super extrovert, pretty much an outgoing, very non-antisocial person when she should have been antisocial, instead of getting along with everyone, instead of her being a people person, if you will. That kind of blew my mind a little bit. I felt like that was really out of place for her character trait. I don't know what it was, but I will say this. It didn't really suit her that well. They should have had a slow progression of Octavia getting to know Lyra and Bon Bon very slowly, and a slow progression with Vinyl Scratch. Not too slow to the point where the story just starts falling apart and pretty much just turns to crap and becomes Snoresville, boring as heck. But make it exciting. Put a couple, pop culture references if you want to, of the actual My Little Pony show. That would have been cool if the writer, author, illustrator of this fan fiction would have implemented those sort of that material into this type of fan fiction story. I'm just saying. All right, let's continue.
Shall we move on to dark fic horror, gothic horror, and its place in MLP?
That was the biggest reason why I liked
I'm
this
not
fic.
going to talk nothing about this. I'm going to let this one roll.
Gore stuff, and this fic totally played into all of that, especially in the scene where the parents are getting killed. It's something about the concept of something like that can be portrayed in something like MLP that kind of is mind-blowing to me still. And that's actually the biggest reason why I got into the fandom. The reason why I got into the fandom was cupcakes. And ever since then, it's been looking for the dark fic. I like the dark stuff. It's been my forte. And this fic plays into that. That's the only redeeming factor for me of this fic. Everything else is trivial to me, and I really tried to look past it, and then it got to that scene. I was like, okay, I'm okay with this now. everything. That was the payoff for me.
Just to ask you, which did you think was the more effective? Given that we've basically decided this is two stories, it's the abuse fic between Octavia and her parents, and it's the slightly Lovecraftian thing of the puppeteer and Octavia. Which did you think was the better of the two in terms of a dark fic?
The puppeteer aspect of it, I wanted more of that the whole time. I was just like, I didn't care about the romance. Everything else was just trivial to me. It was the thing with the puppets and the strings and the hooks and seeing the picture with like the blood
Lost
and the
narrator
hooks.
loves
I was
using
just like,
that
give me more of that. I
work.
want the author to expand more on that. If the author had done a complete, like I guess a prequel or like I don't even know what you would call it, but like just adding on to that, it
Sequel,
could fix this, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
Spin
in
on.
my view, that
Another
is what this fic should have been. This fic should have just been that second half, but looking at Octavia's reaction to this unseen eldritch power that's controlling her and giving her inspiration. It should have been about that, in my view, because that's what the author did. I won't say what they did well, but it's what they did better.
This is one of the reasons why I don't like the dark tag in general, is because dark is a very broad, all-encompassing word, and there are different levels of it that can be found throughout the fandom. When you look at this one, I consider it more of an exploitation fic than anything else, where when you look back at, say, the first fic that we reviewed, Biblical Monsters, I thought that that was dark done right. In fact, I would go as far as to say that that was probably the best fanfic I've ever read that I never want to read again.
Here, here. How well do we think the dark fic and the light fit in with the MLP universe? The MLP universe is one of light and life and hope, and dark fic is essentially its antithesis. Do we think it sits comfortably? Do we think the jar is what makes it the point?
As
So again,
far
I'm
as
still
how it
quiet
fits
for
in
this
the MLP
part,
universe,
because I
only
have
certain
no comment on
aspects
this
of it I
part.
think fit in.
With
The
dark
gore,
fics and grim darks and
with there being
gores.
mythical creatures everywhere, I can sort of see that, but pony on pony, not so much. Now, psychological darkness, that is something I can get behind. I'm more drawn to psychological breakdown, seeing the dark side of humanity. Psychologically, dark fic is a go by me. Violence and gore, not so much.
I completely agree with that, and that's where I feel like if this story had integrated the psychological aspect of it, it would have been a complete sell for me. I still enjoyed it. It was like, I want some more here. I want to get like really into the depths of the character, but I couldn't get that with just how shallow it was. And so I guess the gore kind of just, it was like a nice coax. But it almost makes me think back to, there's another story in the fandom that goes in the grimdark category, and that's the Silent Ponyville series, particularly Silent Ponyville 2, where Fluttershy is characterized as an abused victim. And the way that she's written is far more believable than what Octavia is in the story.
I wanted to bring that up, I'm glad you did too, that I thought Fluttershy's reaction to that and the depiction of how the whole situation could be ignored by everyone around her and how it would come out in the way that she is now, it struck much closer to home. Everybody looks at fiction through the frame of their own reference. And if you can look at something and think, wow, I would not have thought that, I couldn't tell, it does make you think, in real life would I be able to tell? And can I go back a second to what somebody said about the purpose of dark fic in fandom? I've said it quite a few times that I've been in fandoms, and fan fiction in particular, quite a long time. And one of the trends that I noticed in a lot of fandoms is shipping and dark fic. And they happen everywhere. I think it was Sweedley who said that it's humanity. Humanity wants to explore the range of its own emotions, and they do so through fiction. It's why in Gothic fiction, generally, it's always reflected the fears of its era. So in ponyfic, it would be that people like the fandom. They like the world of ponies, but they also want to explore the range and the heft of their own emotions. Therefore, they bring those in where it's not necessarily... There's some cognitive dissonance between the show and dark fic. In fact, there's quite a lot of cognitive dissonance, but I think people are almost using it as sort of catharsis, maybe?
Can someone give us a 20-second blurb on the difference between dark fic horror and gothic horror?
Dark fic is about knee-jerk reactions, generally with gore and splatter, anything that can be defined in terms of human emotions, sad and revulsion. Gothic is much more psychological. It's concerned with things like the uncanny and the sublime. The uncanny being anything that is part of the other. So it's something that makes us feel unsettled as opposed to scared. And the sublime, which is a huge hinge of Gothic fiction, is this sort of emotional nirvana we reach after a strong emotional reaction. Generally negative in Gothic fiction, admittedly, but it doesn't have to be centred around that. It is just the aftermath where we think, wow, and with almost a white out of emotions because we are so affected by the uncanny we've just experienced.
Okay, thank you.
While I don't normally enjoy grimdark or dark fics in general, I did find a very interesting analysis in a very unexpected place on the TV Tropes analysis page for Cupcakes, of all things. There's a very strong argument that the ideas presented in these grimdark fictions are merely moving towards a logical extreme of certain elements that are shown in the show. And it uses the idea that Tartarus in Equestria is not only a real place, but a place that you can physically walk to, as elements that the world that they're living in is kind of a crap-saccharine world. And so there is some sort of very minor setup for things like Cupcakes. And that is one of the reasons why grimdark writers feel the need to explore them.
Yeah, I would say I disagree with that interpretation. I think that's a justification for an impulse that already exists. Regardless of the tone of the source material, whether or not they had references to Tartarus in there is immaterial to the fact that dark fics and gore fics get released.
And get lots of views.
Yeah, people are going to write this, they're going to read this no matter what. But the fact that such things exist in the source material just gives them an outlet.
I think the reason that people tend to order the dark fic, or certainly fics that involve horror or gore, is the novelty of it. We will never see the like of it in the source material. If you're doing slice of life, there's a possibility something like that may be touched upon, but there will always be novelty in the concept of the insane Pinkie Pie. There will always be a depth yet unexplored, because every time they add some throwaway part to the show, you can add further horrific depth to that.
I think that's why so many people are drawn into it, is the fact that there's a possibility that it's there, and the fact that let's just explore it. Let's see. It's almost like art imitating life, because I know obviously within our own humanity.
Oh, I say that quote a lot. Art imitates life,
unfortunately, that are part of our society. But to have it portrayed in MOP, it's the curiosity aspect of it. I really feel like that's what draws people to it.
There's also an element of, excuse me if I get this entirely wrong, the seduction of the innocent. We see characters in the material that we love are innocent, and to see them put into a situation that is inherently against their nature and against the nature of the world they live in, there's something compelling about that, because it easily generates its own drama. I'm going to move on to one last topic here, but I just want to ask, how do we feel
now
this
I'm
story in terms of a dark fic or a gothic horror? How do we feel this lines up?
Poorly.
I think a lot of it was put in there so they could have a dark tag, but this is a dark fic, therefore it needs to have these things to be a dark fic. I think the sex was totally needless.
Yeah, in a way, I don't know why they put all those little, like, imaginary visualizations, mental images of people, you know, when they're reading this fanfic. Why they put the little mini sex images, I feel like that was unnecessary. Maybe uncalled for, but, you know, if they were going to do that, they should have at least, put a little comedy stick, or, you know, like props in the background when they did this sort of, you know, little topic of little sexual hints in this fan fiction.
Just so they could have the words gore and teen for sex on the front page.
We've tossed around the word exploitation several times during this conversation, and that honestly is what it felt most like to me, was an exploitation film, like Nazi exploitation or blaxploitation. It put in a lot of its elements specifically because it was trying to get a rise out of people. It was trying to exploit the sex. It was trying to exploit the abuse, and it was even to a point trying to exploit the idea of this eldritch abomination that was controlling Octavia.
There is a term called grimdark that I'm going to elucidate on, certainly from my perspective. The term grimdark has its origins in a war game called Warhammer 40,000, which came from...
I've actually heard about that. That's on Steam.
The idea
Warhammer
of grimdark is that everything that could ever
real
possibly
badass
go
game
wrong
right there, if
does.
you want to check
The
that
very
out.
universe in which the game or the fiction or the writing is set is innately hostile to the protagonists and characters in it. Grimdark gets used a lot for excessiveness, but the general concept behind it is everything that could be awful is, and there was no other way that this situation could have turned out. The idea is that if we move away from the horror, we just destroy ourselves. Do we think that this is grimdark, where this could have been written in any other way? It could have been lighter in tone? Or do we think that from the conception of the story, it had to be as exploitative as it is?
I'm going to have to go with exploitative.
Yeah, I don't think that the grimdark tone, as I put it, was necessary from the outline of the fic and from what the original intention seems to be.
given the definition that you just gave for grimdark, I would actually go as far as to say that a lot of fics that are described as grimdark probably aren't grimdark, if that is the case, if that is how the origin of the term came about.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That a lot of the ones I'm summoning to mind as being quite famously grimdark quite possibly aren't.
As with all terms, it's become overused and the meaning has become diluted over time.
Yeah, I think an example of something I would say that's potentially grimdark is there's a fanfic where the main six get banished to outside Equestria, and there's this horrible war that's devastating. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it's Upheaval Reckoning.
I've never heard of that fanfiction before to get banished outside of Equestria.
Is everything is
I really want to read that
They get
fanfiction.
outside
That
the
sounds
walls
awesome as
that's
hell.
protecting Equestria. Everything is awful. The point the story makes in it is this is literally the only way it can be. For them, is terrible compared to life in Equestria.
Now it's starting to
but
come
if
to
they
light to me
stop
there.
what
Yeah,
they're
I
doing,
see.
everything
That's
will get
what
worse.
it is with that
And that's
fanfic.
that story
I
is
really
grimdark
want to check that out,
because
ladies
it's
and
terrible
gentlemen. I
for
don't
the
know.
right
If
reason.
it's not long,
If I could get
it's not going
closing
to take me
remarks
over a week to
from
read.
everyone.
I'll
As I say,
might do a
I
fanfiction
enjoyed
on
the
that.
fic on initial read, but
Or
it does
review
not
on it.
stand
We'll
up
see.
to any sort of closer
Be on the
inspection.
lookout for that if I do
Mainly
get
because
into
the
that.
elements that I enjoyed so much were deliberately just manipulative and without any real substance behind them.
I enjoyed the fic, and obviously it did its purpose. It excited the reader to the point where, you know, blood, gore, such and such like
It
that.
scared the
But
crap
as
out of them
everyone
too.
has quite
That's for
clearly
sure.
pointed
Not just
out, it
excited
does
and made
have
them happy.
some flaws there.
Something else. Just go read something else, because the story is shit!
The general premise of the fic as an idea,
Ah,
I
Gumbasa,
think
man,
would
that
have
dude
worked
is
really well,
something
but
of another.
it was just
put
very,
in those
very poorly executed
terms,
and so many
if you will.
mistakes and so many poorly written characters. Yeah, go
And
read
there's
something
some
else.
things almost
Like,
over this podcast.
so as he said, the premise
Um,
was good, but it had
old
two
podcast,
premises.
this is a
I think it
rerun.
could have been good as either two separate fics, as a highly expanded version of the fic we got, or as a highly condensed version of itself, with no Vinyl, no Bonbon, and Lyra and Octavia in the same kind of plot, but with much better reactions, and an actual realistic abuse victim.
It was still a fic that I enjoy, but as people have said before, when
Yeah,
you
real
get down to the
abusive,
nitty gritty, it
abusive,
does start
victim, excuse
to
me.
fall apart.
I think on the
Where are
first
my
initial
words at?
read, it's very enjoyable, at least like on a surface aspect. But once you really start getting into the nitty gritty of it, it starts falling apart. If you enjoy gory stuff, I would recommend it, but just remember or keep in mind that some of the characters are very trivial, and it does have its flaws, but it is still an enjoyable fic at the end of the day.
The fic itself did its job. It set me on an
Another
emotional
wrapping
ride
it up.
of anger and everything else and all that, but as everyone has pretty much said, once you take the time to really look at it and sort of pull it apart, it does lose its substance.
I would recommend reading it. I don't like
Could
it
sort of
very
see where
much,
he's coming from with
but
that
I
statement.
feel like there is, in the mix of these two stories, there is one good
Kinda,
story
sort
that's
of.
trying to get out. I think if it had a rewrite to tighten it up and focus on one of those two things, to tone it down a bit, I think it would be a very enjoyable story. But as
I'm going to stop him right there. There's no way they can tone down, or in this case for Lil Jon when he says, turn down for what? Alright, no, but seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, with all the blood and gore that was in this thing, I'm surprised it wasn't a blood gore fanfic and so like dark fic or grimdark. Grimdark's like one of those real crazy mind manipulating creepypasta versions of what MLPFIM fan fiction or comic dub or any other type of fan fiction comic dub, like a fake anime comic dub or fake anime shipping or fake anime or cartoons, even fake cartoon like fantasy story written fictions, you know. And there's no way they can tone this down because you got one hand, you know, there's either you're gonna put the side of justice, like make it a regular fan fiction without blood and gore, or you're gonna make it really crazy, insanely evil, insanely dark fiction. Is very, it reaches in the corners of your mind mentally in your brain, like it reaches the real scared parts of your childhood or anything, makes your nightmares come to life in a mentally, you know, visually type sort of aspect, you know, and that type of qualification type of aspect, if you will. And let's keep moving on. It's almost finished. 2 more minutes.
it stands, I think the author tried too hard on the wrong things. Okay, and that's our review. I'd like to thank our panel, Braid by Saucepans,
Thank you.
Cider Barrel,
Goodbye.
Gumbasa,
Sayonara, everybody.
Reverb,
Thanks for listening.
Scribbler,
Been lovely to each other, and good night, everybody.
Sweedly,
This has made me depressed.
Lost,
Talk to you guys later, okay?
Webshotter.
See y'all in the future.
I was Deadly Reg, your moderator. Thank you for listening, and see you on Equestria Daily.
Wow. Oh, Lord, that was hilarious. Sweet Celeste. Or Arceus. Oh, shit. Ah, wow. That was definitely hardcore there, man. That is striking some low blows on Equestria Daily. Whoa. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that was pretty much it right there. So, what are my overall thoughts, views, and opinions on this little discussion, or just the whole story alone? First off, I'm not going to talk about the story. I'll talk about, turn that down. Turn down for what? Alright, that's done. So, what did I think about the whole story overall in general, or this discussion? It was very well put together, like Scribbler always does. She actually does a lot of these. She did a whole bunch last year for Season 3, and then Season 4 she did a couple of them earlier this year and last year as well. It was really, once again, true work of genius, stroke of genius on Scribbler's behalf. And I'm going to put every single one of these people's channel links down in the description box below if you're real interested in listening to this whole podcast without me talking and interrupting into it. But yeah, this was a little bit had to be one of the most darkest, scariest, most intense, mentally creepiest type of fan fictions I've ever heard or read or even seen, in my opinion. Well, I can't see it, but visually, mentally visualizing it, I can see sort of like where it's coming from, you know? There wasn't that much development into it. Half of the noises sound a little bit choppy. It was okay. I know Scribbler's microphone was a little messed up when I kept making that little feedback noise, like tss, 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 like that. It was kind of weird. But, you know, overall, it was still a really amazing perfection type of discussion, you know. Hey, you know, one day I would love to do a Skype call, like, with one of you guys, subscribers of mine, you know. If you got Skype, definitely check me out on there. It's Manny Wolverine PS4, I think that's what it is. I'm not sure which one it is. It could be SS Anime Manga Guy PS4. It's one of those two Skype accounts. I completely forgot what it was, but if I do find it, I will post in the links down below. No, it's Manny Wolverine Manga Guy. That's what it is. Check me out over there on Skype if you have a Skype account. I really don't use Skype too much, but hey, if you want to do some type of review with me, hey, or just a mini interview, or just talk with me without the cameras on YouTube, definitely let me know, you know. I'll put that link down below if you want to add me there. I rarely ever use Skype, but if you want to come in contact with me, that's might be the best way besides PMing me and posting Facebook or Twitter PMs on me. That would be awesome too. Or Gmail account. Of course, everyone has to have a Google account if they're using YouTube nowadays. Oh, and last other quick statement I do want to make. Any of the music you heard in the beginning of part 1 all the way up to part 5, or part 4 or 5, whichever part of this video is left, that all belongs to either Deadly Reg or Scribbler. They're the ones that originally own it, or I think they might have borrowed it from someone else. It might be from some other completely different person, but to find the other original owner, other than Scribbler and Deadly Reg, for having that music, I'll put it down in the description box below. They're the ones that officially own that stuff, so hopefully I don't get no copyright strike or anything like that. It was a really awesome little mini podcast that they did. I'm actually going to do a lot more rants on this, maybe starting at 2015, because I'm going to start doing these more on my Criticism Guide 2009 channel if you want to check that out. And with that said, that's pretty much everything I really wanted to talk about for this whatever it is, a discussion roundtable review response. No, video response discussion rant review. Not rant review, excuse me. Video response roundtable video. You know, responding to these guys and girls, of course. I remember there was another girl in this thing used to be called Emo Gag. I know she's on here once in a while, along with PDK. And then somebody else. I forgot what the other girl's name was, but she was cool. I'm not sure who it is, but it might be, and I'm probably saying this wrong, Gloria the Rainbow Wings. I think she was in this podcast once before, too, and it was really awesome. So shout out to Glory of the Wings, of the Red Wings, I think. But like I always do say, peace out once again, bros, women, bronies, and pegasisters. We'll see you when I see you. You guys have a good day, have a good night. Wherever you're out around the world, don't drink, smoke weed at the same time. Don't do anything reckless. Keep it calm, keep it cool, keep it chill, keep it collective, all that good stuff. And until then, next time, guys, peace out. I'm gone. I'm getting the heck out of here. Stay tuned. More videos coming soon. New videos and podcasts almost every single day. And with that said, you guys take it easy. Stay safe. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm out. Late's goodbye, and I'm going to talk to you guys next time. Have a good day and good night, everyone. And goodbye.